everybody, I'm Missi Matthews. Welcome to the Matchup Show presented by POWERHOME Solar. An early happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Let's introduce you to my panel today so we can talk a little Steelers and Ravens. Mike Prisuta of DVE, kind enough to join us before he eats lots of turkey. Craig Wolfley of Steelers.com and Steelers Nation Radio and DVE Game. And Charlie Batch, you can hear him on the post-game show and also on KDK, guys. All right, so we thought we were going to have the first home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thanksgiving taking place. That is not the case due to COVID-19 kind of running through the Baltimore Ravens. The game has officially been moved to Sunday. So we thought this game was going to be tomorrow. Where does your head go in terms of what does this mean for the Steelers in particular? Mike, I'll start with you.
I think, first and foremost, I always get my antenna up when you find out the team they're going to play is having COVID issues. We went through this already to a degree with Tennessee. Do you really want to play a team on Thursday night that is continuing to add guys to its COVID list on Wednesday? I don't think so. We talked to the offensive and defensive coordinators yesterday. Keith Butler wasn't sure Joe Hayden was going to play. Randy Fichtner wasn't sure Juju Smith-Schuster was going to play. And last but not least, Missy, ESPN reporting that among the Ravens' positive COVID guys are center Patrick McCary and center Matt Secura. So they're going to be down to their third center with the game coming up on Sunday. I don't think that helps Baltimore a heck of a lot. It's 2020. It's a pandemic season. You're light on your feet. You react to these kind of things. Everybody should be with that by now.
Wolf, what's your take on the game having to be moved and if there is a positive or negative for the Steelers in this?
Well, my first thought was, hey, I can go into a turkey coma tomorrow and not worry about it, okay?
You don't have to work tomorrow.
That's right. So everything Mike just said, it's right. You got to remember that this is a special time. It's a pandemic time. The things are going to happen. So you got to roll with it, and you got to be light on your feet. And you realize that, well, for Joe Hayden, for Vance McDonald, and maybe any other guys that potentially are on the edge of maybe having some sort of sickness or something like that, you got some extra time to prepare for this game. Now, I keep wondering, how does this happen? You got two running backs, you got two centers, and now you've got two defensive guys, Pernell McPhee and Brandon Williams. Well, Brandon Williams is like two guys all by himself. He's so large. But, the fact is, it almost makes me think there's more to come because of the contact tracing.
All right, Charlie, the Steelers players took to Twitter when the announcement was made. They are not happy. Where do you come from as a former player of what the Steelers locker room is thinking right now, knowing the game is moved to Sunday?
Well, I can understand the frustration only because, the bye week was moved because of what was going on down in Tennessee, and now this is going on in Baltimore. So it's frustrating from that perspective. But when you look at it just from players, we're creatures of habit. You know what you do leading up to a game. So 48 hours prior to a game, you have a set routine, and now here you are 24 hours and really hours away from possibly, being at the hotel preparing for the day before meeting. So now all of that is taken away, and now you have to regroup and figure out what that looks like over the next couple of days. It adds a few more days of practice. What they thought with a mini bye week that was going to happen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now is out of the equation. So I can understand the frustration, but also if you're the NFL, you have to err on the side of caution only because these cases continue to happen in Baltimore. You don't want that spreading to the Steelers players.
All right, let's turn to football now and hopefully what we will see in terms of Steelers and Ravens. And the Ravens, from the last time the Steelers stalled them, have lost 3 of their last 4 games. But Mike, I know the Steelers defense does not forget that the Ravens put up 265 rushing yards on them. So what is different about this matchup for part 2?
Yeah, I think the Ravens put up 223 at the last game of last season. So the last 2 games, I think Baltimore's averaging about 240 rushing yards per game against the Steelers. Tyson Alualu, the Steelers, I would expect they're going to think he's going to last longer than the 6 snaps he lasts on November the 1st. That will really help. Also, did I mention that the Ravens' top 2 centers, Patrick McCary and Matt Secura, are not going to play? I wasn't thinking that not having J.K. Dobbins or Mark Ingram would grind the Baltimore running game to a halt because Gus Edwards is a pretty good back. They have a pretty good system. They still have Lamar Jackson. But Wolf, you can speak to this better than I can. When you're down to center number 3 on the depth chart, that's got to start showing up eventually, doesn't it?
There's no question about him. Like, look, if you take a look at him, first of all, they lost Marshall Yanda to retirement. That's like losing Alan Faneca. I mean, that's a big hole you got to fill. So now you're on your second left tackle, you're on your third center, you're on your third right guard, and your third right tackle. The whole line has really been a series of problems. There's more moving parts in that line than roller skating in a buffalo herd, which is pretty difficult if you think about it. So you look at this offensive line, they've got to come up with something, some sort of semblance of continuous type play. And when you got a center, your first center, that being Skuro, I think he rolled like 3 or 4 snaps back to the quarterback. Chuck, you can speak to this. You probably don't want to see that from the shotgun, 3 or 4 snaps rolling along the ground to your back.
No, not at all. And it is frustrating. Not only are you now, the snaps are coming back differently. The part that people forget is the call and the communication at the line of scrimmage. I've played it with the third team center. And now, not only in addition to what I had to focus on at the line of scrimmage, I had to call out the mic and call out some of the calls at the line of scrimmage. I'm looking at the play clock, and now you're pressing with the offensive coordinator to say, please get the play into me faster, because there's a lot more communication going on at the line of scrimmage. So it's tough from that perspective, but that's something that, when you get to that point, it's just frustrating. You just have to deal with it if those situations happen at the line of scrimmage.
All right, as we sit here today on Wednesday, they still have Lamar Jackson, and when these two teams met week 8, he had his second worst marks in completion rate, passer rating, the giveaways, and sacks. So how do you approach him this time around, Mike?
Same way that they have been. Number one, hit him when you can. When he's doing all the ball fakes and he's giving it to the running back but pretending he's bootlegging to the left or right, assign somebody to go ahead and smack him. Go, oh, sorry, thought he still had the ball. Didn't mean to drive you into the ground as hard as I possibly could. The second thing, to contain pass rush. Cam Hayward talked about that this week. Everybody talks about it whenever you play the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I think they've done a really good job of not letting him turn a drop-back pass into a broken play, 35 or 40-yard gain. The assignment football, you've got the handoff guy, you've got the quarterback, you've got contained, you've got this guy. They've played without letting the Ravens overwhelm them because they're out of position. Now, Jackson hasn't necessarily done that himself. Baltimore has rushed for a lot of yards, but he's the game breaker. And keep doing what you've been doing against him, because I think if you compare what Lamar Jackson's done to the rest of the league with what he's done against the Steelers and maybe the Chiefs, Steelers and Chiefs are doing okay against that guy.
Now, Wolf, you guys mentioned having Tyson Alualu back for this game, only played a handful of snaps the first time, but Mike Hilton wasn't in that game at all. So how does that change how this defense approaches Lamar Jackson?
Well, I think you can do some of the stealth mode stuff that Mike Hilton is so very able and apt to be able to commit out there. He does a great job of disappearing amongst the redwoods, then suddenly reappearing in the quarterback's grill somehow or in blitz, making things, problematic for Lamar Jackson. Mike is right. You got to hit this guy. You got to keep hitting him. Think about this. Anytime, and Charlie, I got to hear your perspective too. Anytime a quarterback is your leading rusher, I'm very suspicious about how far that guy. This guy is great. Lamar Jackson's great, no doubt about it. But think about it. He's had over 100 rushes. How many times do you think he got banged hard amongst those 100 rushes? He's already been sacked more in 10 games than he was sacked all of last year. So you talk about his efficiency being down, his QBR, all those other things. Well, I think he's just getting the living daylights beat out of him from a line who's got, as I said, a lot of moving parts and people changing in there. And quite frankly, the last thing I would say is if Mark Andrews, and I don't know, I never covered a guy, okay? I never played big cornerback or anything like that. But if Mark Andrews is probably, to me, your best receiver, you got issues getting that ball down the field if the other guys don't really scare you. So that's what I think.
Charlie, go ahead.
So I think when you look at this, the one thing the Steelers have been able to do is drive those turnovers, because Lamar Jackson has been putting the football on the ground. So they know the more hits that you're able to land to him, it is obviously going to wear and tear on him. So the good part about the fact that you continue to hit Lamar Jackson, typically when you're getting hit that much from a quarterback perspective, your eyes tend to go from reading the defense down the field to now starting to look at the pass rush. And if you start to do that, you're late throwing the football down the field. And as athletic as what Lamar is, that's when you start to see more of the runs taking place. So the Steelers just have to continue to put that pressure on him and hit him when he's not getting the ball as well.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break here on the Matchup Show. When we return, we will get you in the Thanksgiving mood to see what you are grateful for this year. We'll be right back.
The Steelers official mobile app is your window into your favorite team. Behind-the-scenes access.
Oh, man, he is just running so hard.
Live audio, including game broadcasts.
That's what you call smart football.
Statistics. Press conferences and interviews. And Steelers Nation Unite exclusive access and benefits. That's all in the Steelers official mobile app. Download it for free today.
Hi, everybody, welcome back to the Matchup Show presented by POWERHOME Solar. Earlier today, we wanted to find out what Steelers Nation was thankful for in terms of the Steelers this Thanksgiving, and we promised some of the best responses would make it here on the show. And guys, we got a lot of good responses. Have to shout out Teresa Varley. She said that nothing is perfect about us except our record. Thank you, Teresa, for chiming in. And also Heather, our friend of our show, having my quarterback back. And of course, she has a gif of Ben Roethlisberger. So Prisuta, in terms of this 2020 edition of the Pittsburgh Steelers, what are you thankful for this Thanksgiving?
Missy, you know what I'm thankful for. Plays wide receiver. He's from the University of Notre Dame. I think you were sitting next to me. We were doing a training camp show, and Ben Roethlisberger threw the fade on the first day in pads over Joe Hayden. Chase Claypool came down with it. Joe Hayden said afterward, I tried to knock it out of his hands. He wouldn't let me. Kid's going to be a problem. He made a problem for everybody else. 10 touchdowns in 10 games. I would include all the rookies because the job that they have done, and they've gotten a lot of contributions, Alex Highsmith, Kevin Dotson, that these guys were able to overcome not having all the OTAs and preseason games and do what they've done is special. But Chase Claypool's in a class by himself. Boy, was he what they needed out of the draft. Not the only thing, but what a difference maker.
No doubt, and I served you up there, Prisuta. See what I did there? Served you Thanksgiving. Okay, anyways, Kayla, thanks for writing in. She agrees with you, Mike. She said how solid our rookies have been this year, and with no real offseason, who could have thought? Our next one says that our own children can experience the same continuous level of excellence we grew up with in the 70s. The Steelers have brought cheer, joy, and excitement to our family for generations. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. All right, Wolf. You cannot pick your favorite food for Thanksgiving. Tell me your favorite Steelers thing that you're happy for.
I'd have to say for the leadership of Mike Tomlin, because I got to tell you something. I don't know how anybody navigates these troubled waters starting way back when quarantine first hit, and then to be able to do this when different phases through at Heinz Field. I got to tell you something. Looking at Heinz Field in the training camp, I'm thinking, this is training camp. Guys are wearing sunglasses out there. I mean, you know, I don't know. I'm looking at it, and then you go through the whole process of bringing these rookies in, and then you got to, get them ready for the game, and then you've got to make sure everybody's bought into the COVID protocols, and then you got to deal with the Tennessees and then now the delays and everything else. And he keeps everybody between the lines and pointed in the same direction. And you got to say, how do you pull off a 10-0 when everything is going crazy? Well, you got to look at the leadership, and leadership is all about leading from the front. I think that's what he's done.
And more adversity they will be facing this week. We will see what happens on Sunday. Let's get to one more fan tweet about what they are thankful for. The Miami Dolphins giving us Mika Fitzpatrick for 2 side dishes and a dessert. That might be my favorite one. All right, Charlie, tell us what you are thankful for this Thanksgiving.
To be honest with you, thankful for all the frontline workers that are ahead of the COVID and literally making sure that everybody is safe and secure to get to this point of the season and not have many issues within the organization's standpoint, and being able to actually talk about football when nobody thought that we were going to get this done earlier in the year. So I'm thankful for that. Thank you for everybody who is part of the front lines that are directly involved with keeping everybody safe.
No doubt. And you can always see the players, some of the people that work at the facility that do the daily testing. They always decorate the trailer where they go, and they do try to make it really special for them. All right, guys, we are going to take one more break here on the Matchup Show. When we return, I want to get your key to the game for Steelers and Ravens, Part 2. We'll be right back.
The Steelers official mobile app is your window into your favorite team. Behind-the-scenes access.
Oh, man, he is just running so hard.
Live audio, including game broadcasts.
That's what you call smart football.
Statistics. Press conferences and interviews. And Steelers Nation Unite exclusive access and benefits. That's all in the Steelers official mobile app. Download it for free today.
Welcome back, everybody. It is time now for our keys to the game, presented by your neighborhood Ford store. All right, let's go in reverse order this time to switch things up. So, Charlie, give us your key to Steelers and Ravens.
My key is going to be creating points off of turnovers, something that the Steelers have been able to create and turning those into 7 points. And if they're able to do that, that keeps the games at hand. And I think that's something that the Steelers can continue to do and something that they've been building on the entire season.
All right, Wolf, we'll keep you in the middle. Give us your key to Sunday.
They keep the guy box in the middle. Okay. You know, the thing about it is I think you've got to bang Lamar every single chance you get. Make him pick himself up off the ground. Make him feel the lumps coming up on him in the second half. And give him some long second and third downs that he has to navigate. And then just let Ben be Ben. I mean, Ben has been killing it. Just let Ben be Ben. That's the key.
Prisuta?
Yeah, I'll pile on Wolf a little bit there. Spread them out and pick them apart. You know, in that first game against the Ravens, they're down 10. They get to the second half. That's when I went with this, 5 wides look that also includes Eric Ebron, the empty sets, Ben improvising. You run this route, you run that route. We'll make it up as we go along. That's worked really well since, but the Ravens are going to be the first team to get a second look at it. I'm curious to see if Baltimore comes up with an answer, because if Baltimore does not, I wonder if anybody else will. That approach looks pretty effective to me so far. I want to see more of it, Missi.
All right, so the producer stopped chirping in my ear. What I am thankful for this Thanksgiving did not feel right to say after Charlie, because that was very eloquent. I was going to say Dr. Bradley and Dr. Neal, who performed Ben's surgery, watching his docuseries of what he went through to get back to them. I am thankful for them of taking good care of that elbow and getting number 7 back to us for this season. So, all right, on that note, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Again, Steelers and Ravens have been moved to Sunday. Thanks to Mike, Wolf, and Charlie for joining me here today on the Matchup Show. We'll see everybody back here next week.